There's just one thing that always gets us excited when we play Assassin's Creed, and I'm sure most of you will agree with me here. It's those secret overpowered rewards that completely change the way you play. Sometimes they're weapons, sometimes they're special perks, but honestly, none of them feel complete without their outfits. Some of these outfits come with unique abilities while others are purely cosmetic. And in this video, we won't be ranking them as the best or the worst, but instead, we're taking a look at the secret outfits or armors from every Assassin's Creed game. So let's jump in. But before we start unveiling these secrets, here's a quick question for you. How many Assassin's Creed games have you played? If the answer is only a few, or maybe you're thinking about replaying some of the classics, you'll probably want a marketplace that doesn't completely drain your wallet. And that's where today's sponsor comes in. This video is sponsored by Aniba. On Aniba, you can pick up digital game keys not only for Assassin's Creed titles, but for every newly released game at discounted prices, for all platforms including PC, Xbox, and PlayStation 5. So, if you're interested, check out the links in the description and the About section to see what deals you can find. Unfortunately, Assassin's Creed 1 doesn't offer any outfit variations. The only outfit you can wear is the default Master Assassin robe. So for that reason, we'll have to start directly with Assassin's Creed 2. In AC2, we were given far more customization options compared to the first game, and these didn't just include weapons, but outfits as well. Most of these outfits were simply dyes of the default robe, but some of them were still pretty well done. The real focus, however, was on the armor. And as I mentioned earlier, these armor pieces were portrayed realistically as additions layered on top of Ezio's outfit. The only downside was that these armor pieces could break after a few heavy hits or rough falls, forcing you to repair them again, which was honestly a pretty tedious process. But this is where we get to the main highlight of the secret armor. In AC2, alongside many side activities, one of them involved collecting assassin seals to unlock something special. And that special reward was the legendary armor of Altair. These seals, as almost everyone knows by now, were scattered across Italy, making the activity quite annoying at times, but the reward definitely justified the effort. Designed by Altair himself, this armor had complete durability and resistance to almost any damage. On top of that, it also gave you the maximum amount of health while still looking sleek and agile, something the bulkier armors in the game didn't quite manage to do so. Aside from the gameplay perks, the armor also gave Ezio an incredible black and white drip, longer robes, the sword of Altair, and an overall more leveled up presence. And the fact that it's canon makes unlocking it even more exciting because it essentially becomes the best piece of equipment for the final battle. Moving on to Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, and as you'd expect, it continues the tradition set by AC2. Much of the framework regarding outfits is exactly the same as it's carried over from the previous game. And when it comes to armor, the idea is also similar. There's one armor that outshines every other piece in the game, and of course, it's a secret one. You've probably guessed it already, it's none other than the armor of Brutus. Now, there's actually some solid in-game lore behind it, but we won't get into that. At least, not in this video. To unlock it, you have to explore the layers of a fanatic cult known as the Followers of Romulus. Each layer has its own unique atmosphere and requirements, giving you a slightly different experience every time, and at the end of each one, you obtain a scroll. And once you collect all 6 of them, just like with Altair's armor, you also receive a weapon alongside the armor, and in this case, it's a dagger with its own unique animation. But to be very honest with you, I personally never wore it that often in the game. And the reason is that it somehow makes Ezio look fat. Now sure, it offers great perks, extra health, a cool color scheme, and all that. But design-wise, it just didn't work for me. Which is a shame considering it was basically meant to be a replacement for Altair's armor. But for me personally, it wasn't even 30% of what that armor was. You just cannot take him seriously while he's running around in this thing, because it looks like he's wearing a gown. A women's gown. Anyways, it was still a good addition, but from a purely honest perspective, the reward just didn't feel worth the effort. At least, not for me. The last chapter of Ezio's story and the final part of the trilogy. A game that wrapped up everything the previous titles had built their foundation on. But does this fitting conclusion have a secret armor or outfit?
You're goddamn right.
It definitely does. Introducing the armor of Ishak Pasha, which once belonged to the late mentor of the Ottoman Brotherhood, Ishak Pasha. But this one feels a bit quieter and different compared to the others, because unlike the previous games where the secret armor was clearly the best one, this game actually has a strong base armor alongside the secret one. The main thing which separates the two are their pros. Just like before, this armor doesn't break under extreme duress and also provides extra health, but where it really stands out is in its design. It's just miles better than the armor of Brutus, as it comes with a mask, a sleek orange and black pattern, and an overall agile aesthetic that fits Ezio perfectly. Now, to unlock it, you need to collect Ishak Pasha's memoir pages, which are scattered across specific locations in Istanbul. And once you gather them all, a classic Assassin Tomb style level unlocks. And it's honestly a great callback to Assassin's Creed 2, and it feels like Ezio is reliving his older days. Once you overcome all the puzzles, at the end of that sequence you finally unlock the armor. But to this day, there's still one thing I don't understand. Why does Ezio trim his beard whenever the mask is off in cutscenes? And if you have the answer, then do let us know. With Assassin's Creed 3, a lot of things we were used to suddenly changed, and that also meant the whole system of unlocking a secret armor through side activities basically disappeared. Instead, we now had different kinds of outfits that mostly offered visual upgrades only. A lot of the outfits in the game were simply dyes of the default outfit, which was honestly one of the few features carried over from the Ezio games. But the rest were quite different, and as you know, AC3 has two versions, the original and the remastered. And naturally, as you'd expect, the remastered version added more outfits compared to the original. However, the secret ones remain the same in both. There are quite a few, but if we're picking one that really captures the classic Assassin's Creed vibe, it has to be Captain Kidd's outfit. You unlock it by collecting all the peg leg trinkets, which then unlock the Captain Kidd's Lost Treasure missions. And honestly, these were some of the best missions in the entire game, as each one had its own unique atmosphere and design, something that I really miss in the series nowadays. Anyway, after completing all those missions, a final mission on Oak Island unlocks, and there you solve one last puzzle, and at the end you receive the outfit along with a mysterious ring. So what's special about it? The outfit and the ring give you a chance to deflect bullets, meaning you're basically immune to ranged attacks, especially when you're standing still. And no, it doesn't work during the Battle of Bunker Hill mission because I tested that myself. As for the design, it's not exactly my favorite because personally I think the captain of the Aquila outfit fits Connor much better than Kidd's. But still, in terms of abilities and uniqueness, this outfit is probably the closest thing we got to the secret armors from the Ezio games. Now, AC4 is a rare case where there's actually more than one secret armor or outfit, so picking just one became a tough choice for me. The secret outfits are the Mayan outfit and the Templar outfit, but which one stays true to the tradition? Realistically, both in their own ways, but for this video, I'm going with the Templar outfit because I just cannot stand the Mayan outfit because its cloth physics and design are a mess. To be honest, the first time I saw the Templar outfit, I literally thought it was Shay's outfit because I played the game a bit late. The Templar outfit is hidden on Edward's very own island, which he takes from the Templar Julian de Cass. The armor is locked behind a cage that requires 5 different keys to open. Now, the requirements aren't that bad, but the process definitely is. These keys are scattered across the major cities, each guarded by their own assassins. As a result, Edward has to complete errands for them to collect every key, and these missions are all story bound, which makes them feel meaningful. Once you complete all the missions and gather all the keys, the outfit is finally unlocked. And yes, it does come with some perks, like increased resistance to damage and a better protection against ranged attacks, but it's nowhere near the Mayan armor, which literally gives you bullet deflection like in AC3. Where it really shines though is in its design. No hood, sleek black look, and the outfit even reacts to your movement, which the Mayan one doesn't. And you know what the fun thing is? I literally thought I could sneak into Templar control areas just by wearing it on my first playthrough. Good times indeed. But I really hope the remake keeps these outfits and does justice to the Mayan one, because honestly, it deserves it. For Assassin's Creed Rogue, the situation is almost identical to Black Flag, and honestly, why wouldn't it be? It's literally Black Flag, but in America. Jokes aside, Rogue did expand the number of outfits and improve their designs, mainly to fit Shay's personality and make them suit him better. And let's be real, Shay has some of the most badass outfits in the entire AC series. Like Black Flag, Rogue has a handful of secret outfits, about 3 to 5 in total. And aside from 1 or 2, most of the others, well, they're kind of forgettable. But out of all of them, the one that tops the charts in both stats and looks has to be the 11th century Templar armor. Found in a shipwreck somewhere in the North Atlantic, this outfit is unlocked after collecting all the Templar seals and is heavily inspired by the Templars from the first Assassin's Creed. The only thing missing is the helmet, which is actually a blessing. because Shay would have looked ridiculous otherwise. The armor itself looks lightweight with white and red colors that really pop, especially in snowy regions. And it's not just about the looks, this outfit also comes with a buff that reduces ranged damage taken. It's a perfect perk, because while melee combat in the game is relatively easy, range attacks actually keep you on your toes, and this armor helps with that. There are a lot of other outfits too, unlocked through various collectibles, but many of them fall short in either stats or aesthetics. So for me personally, the 11th century Templar armor ticks every box, making it the best in every category. This one's a bit painful because Unity itself was pretty bloated when it came to collectibles. The entire map was flooded with icons, which honestly made a lot of us feel overwhelmed. And our secret armor, or in this case outfit, is tightly tied to all of that. And I'm talking about Thomas de Carnelon's robes. While it's mostly an Altair reskin with no additional stats or perks, the outfit still had its own drip. And thankfully, it was much easier to unlock than the Altair outfit because that one was definitely worth it, but the process felt like it took a lifetime. Compared to that, the steps here are simpler and somewhat reminiscent of the collectible hunts from the Ezio trilogy. You start by finding random symbols scattered across Paris and scanning them. At first, you might think that's it. But no. Each symbol is actually part of a larger puzzle called the Nostradamus Enigma. To solve them, you have to complete a series of clues related to a specific symbol, and each completed enigma gives you a fragment required to unlock the outfit. And once you collect them all, there's yet another puzzle awaiting, the one that finally opens the cage containing the robes. And yes, that puzzle alone can easily eat up a good chunk of your day. It's actually the only piece of equipment in the entire game that's locked inside a cage, which immediately brings back memories of the secret armors from the earlier games. As I mentioned before, it doesn't offer any perks or special buffs, but the design alone makes it worth it. A brown and black color scheme accented with touches of red along with a unique pattern layered on top. That's Tomas's outfit for you. And the best part? Since it's purely cosmetic, you can wear it on top of any armor you want. So no matter what setup you're using, it basically becomes a win-win situation. Often underrated and criticized for how it handled the classic Assassin's Creed formula, but you gotta admit, it was still fun. And a lot of that fun actually came from the mechanics, which ironically were also a big reason people hated it. It's kinda confusing honestly. Still, despite all the backlash, it stayed true to its roots in some ways, like the core gameplay, a version of parkour, and collectibles. Now, coming to the main point of this video, most of the collectibles were honestly pretty bland, but one of them unlocked something special. Not for Jacob though, and I'm talking about the tiny music boxes called Secrets of London, which unlock the secret outfit known as the Aegis. This outfit is very different from the traditional armor sets we're used to, because it comes with a strange glitchy effect that I personally found a little immersion breaking. People have their own takes on it. Some say it's because the outfit is unstable, while others say it's because Evie was never really supposed to wear it. But perks wise, it's fantastic. It gives a plus 10% defense to both ranged and melee attacks, plus an additional 20% boost to the cane sword damage. Combine that with Evie's skill set and it becomes a must-have for late game. Now, I do wish there was a variant for Jacob as well, but we'll have to settle for what we got. Personally, I'm not a fan of the glitch effect. Still, the concept itself was solid, and it's cool to see how it even got integrated in some form in later games. And I gotta respect them for that. One of the finest Assassin's Creed games of the new era, no doubt. And I think most of you will agree it was a revolution. Even if the series later fumbled the formula, at least Origins laid down a strong foundation. The game surprised me with the sheer scale, size, and attention to detail. And tucked away within all that was a completely secret armor. One that I didn't even know existed at first. Yes, the Isu armor. Even though Origins leans more into RPG mechanics, the game didn't give perks for outfits but only for weapons. Yet here we had an armor set as a reward. How do you get it? By completing all the stone circles in Egypt, a quest you can unlock as soon as you reach Siwa in the first hour of the game. And here's the crazy part, the game doesn't tell you anything about the armor. You have to explore all of Egypt, interact with every stone circle, and complete the quest. But the armor? Still no clue. It's only when you stumble upon the Great Sphinx and find a hidden entrance that you discover a first civilization temple. And that's where the armor is finally unlocked. Back then, this armor felt truly unique, long before Odyssey and Valhalla made similar outfits common. It had glowing effects and an almost robotic muffled sound whenever you wore the hood. The attention to detail was phenomenal, even if it slightly broke immersion. For that reason, I still consider it my endgame set, especially when combined with the first civilization set. Honestly, that set could have been included with the armor as a reward, but what can we say? Origins wasn't about making things easy. This one was a nightmare for me to pick, because the game doesn't just have 1 or 2 secret armors, it has hundreds of them. Honestly, this was the only game where I actually had to search for a secret armor, because I genuinely couldn't remember which one even counted as one. And to be fair, everyone has their own opinion here because it's an RPG, you can literally wear anything you want. So based on that, the choice mostly comes down to what the majority thinks checks all the boxes. And according to most players, that would be the Greek hero set, and their reasoning is actually pretty solid. Most armor sets in the game are predefined, meaning you can clearly see when and how you will unlock them, since they're either found in legendary chests or dropped by cult members that you hunt down. But this one is a bit different. Technically, it's still predefined, but you never know exactly when you will get it, because the pieces drop from specific mercenaries you have to hunt. And if you've played Odyssey, you already know how random and unpredictable mercenary spawns can be. To complete the set, you have to defeat 5 high-level mercenaries and each one drops 1 piece of the armor. Now, design-wise, I'm personally not the biggest fan of it. It basically looks like an amalgamation of different armor pieces belonging to various Greek heroes, as it literally is one. But the perk is where it really shines. The set gives you plus 30% resistance to all types of damage, which makes it a great build for tanking hits, especially during boss fights. Although I do wish the game had something like a single secret best armor similar to how it handles some of its legendary weapons, but I get it. They wanted each player to have their own Odyssey. Okay, this one's pretty exciting. Valhalla is so massive that I'm willing to bet most players didn't even bother looking for secrets. They were probably overwhelmed by the sheer size of the game. But don't worry, because I'll tell you about one of the best. Now, there are hidden chests and quest rewards in the game, but I won't include those since they're pretty obvious. The rewards are clearly tied to specific areas or quests, so they don't really count as secret sets. Instead, I want to talk about something that brings you back to the good old days. And luckily, Valhalla actually has one, the Armor of Thor. And unlocking it is actually pretty fun. First, you have to defeat the Daughters of Lyrion, arguably some of the hardest bosses in the entire game. All 3 of them are located in different parts of England, and each one guards a piece required to unlock a hidden treasure. But if you manage to get your ass beaten multiple times and finally take them down, you will eventually unlock the Thor armor set. The armor itself looks godly, and it also gives you a boost to speed and stun damage when hitting enemies. But we're not done yet, because there's one more thing you can do with it. If you travel to the far side of the Norway map, you will find something special waiting for you: Thor's hammer Mjolnir. But here's the catch, you cannot pick it up unless you're wearing the Thor armor. But once you do, you can finally lift Mjolnir and basically become the god of thunder. And the hammer is just as insane as you'd expect it to be, as it deals stun damage to surrounding enemies with every hit. Plus, it has some cool lightning effects for extra style. It's an amazing endgame build that lets you absolutely destroy enemies in style. And honestly, it's one of my favorite builds in the entire game. A game that promises the classic Assassin's Creed experience feels incomplete without its classic hidden armor set. Now, Mirage was a fairly short experience. The map was smaller with a bit of wilderness added just to expand the scale, and a lot of it was intentionally empty. There's a limited amount of content, mostly done to maintain a sense of mystery surrounding the quiet deserts. And what usually follows mystery in Assassin's Creed? Exactly. The Isu. In Mirage, there's a quest where you have to collect several mysterious fragments and use them at a hidden location somewhere in the Oasis. Although, to be fair, it's probably one of the weaker side activities in the game, something we already talked about in one of our previous videos. Still, it does reward you with the secret armor. And as a matter of fact, it's very similar to the Isu armor from Origins, except this time it's a bit more Arab inspired and also complete. You don't just get the armor, you also unlock its weapons, which honestly look pretty great. The armor itself gives you a burst of smoke whenever you perform an air assassination, allowing you to disappear quickly and escape the area. It's a decent perk, though I feel like it could have been done better. Design-wise, it looks fantastic. But if you're playing or planning to play Mirage, I'd actually recommend using it mostly as a cosmetic because it just works better that way. That said, I cannot deny that the armor has its own drip, even if the abilities themselves aren't the most exciting. Coming to Shadows, although it's the latest game, it falls a bit short capturing the same sense of mystery the series used to have. Most of the collectibles are simply scattered across castles or chests. So is it something like Odyssey? Yes, but with a slight twist. Now, if you're wondering whether the game has a secret outfit, then yes, it definitely does. But it's not exactly what most of us expected. In the quest titled Secrets of the Blade, Naoe investigates her mother's past and possibly learns more about the Assassin Brotherhood and its existence. During the exact same quest, we explore an old tomb known as the Tomb of the Ancients. It's dark, filled with puzzles, and you'll probably get lost a few times. But that's nothing new. Almost every tomb in the game feels the same. However, one particular section is unlocked specifically during this mission. Inside, Naoe discovers a hidden room with a mannequin wearing a sleek white outfit. Yup, that's the outfit. It's simply called the Assassin outfit and nothing more. The implication is that these robes were meant for initiates who had completed their training. But since the Brotherhood likely collapsed or was disrupted, they were never claimed and just remained there. You can pick them up, but they're only rare, not legendary. They don't have any unique perks, and overall they feel like just another casual outfit. Thankfully, the game does have visual customization, so you can still enjoy the look without sacrificing your stats. But even with that, the disappointment is real. Oh, we reached the end then. And since you reached this point, make sure to let us know how the video was and is there something you could add? Besides, if you find our content and effort worth it, then give it a like and subscribe for more. I'll see you in the next one. Till then, take care and goodbye.